a lot of difficulty in criminal law that I would be able to get around if instead I was working to help people who have been injured work through their problems and get compensated for their injuries. So that's why I started focusing on workers' comp and personal injury. And I still do some criminal occasionally when a past client calls me when they've got a traffic problem or something relatively minor, I'll help them out. But it's really a personal injury and workers' comp practice right now.
Well, that's cool, because like when someone hire you, they know that like, hey, you know, I can always double back and, you know, ask them about this traffic ticket too. So that's
exactly right. Whenever somebody calls me, I tell them, look, I've been here in Richmond long enough that I know most of the lawyers here. So if you've got a legal issue, call me, send me a text, and if I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can help you, because I can get you a referral. I can help steer you to the right person who's going to help you for a copyright issue or a business issue or something that I don't do. But I always want to hear from folks. And sometimes when they call and they've got a traffic case and it's not that far from my house, I just help them out with that too. You're right.
Well, there's a dirty little secret, you know, about like law, you know, and lawyers, you know, that, you know, most people, you know, just really don't know. It doesn't really get talked about that much. Is that, like, you know, if you don't really have a lawyer that's really connected with like other lawyers and really, you know, take the time out to, like, you know, network with, like, even with the district attorneys, you probably shouldn't really consider hiring that person. You know, I came to find that out, like, after having some run in with the law a couple of times. I'm like, you know, maybe I should, like, you know, hire an attorney that is kind of cool with the district attorneys.
Well, everybody's got their own approach, but it definitely helps to know your courtroom, to know the judge, to kind of feel them out. You know, you wouldn't go into a professional sports game. You know, they're gonna scout the other team. So, you know, when you have somebody who's assigned to a case, whether it's a lawyer from an insurance company who I haven't dealt with before, I call other friends, I call people I know, but most of the time I already know them. And that helps, because when you've been in the same place and you've been doing it long enough and you hear the same 10 or 15 names, there are guys that you've dealt with before. You have credibility with those people, guys and women. And when you tell them something, they believe it, because when you've told them that in the past, it's come true and they can rely on your word. And I think that's the way that you can use your networking and your connections and your past experience to your advantage in the future. Because when I call somebody I've had a trial with, they know what it's like to have a trial with me. They know that I know what I'm doing, and they know that I can get good results. So when I then make a demand for a certain amount because I think the case is worth that, it carries more weight than it would for somebody they've never had a case with.
Indeed. Oh, that's beautiful. Like that makes me smile. That gives me confirmation. That lets me know that, like, I'm on the right track when I'm talking with attorneys. Now doubling back on that and kind of like piling on to what you said. Like, when people are trying to really going after the big settlements with some of these cases, especially with like the personal injuries. And what I didn't really realize is that, like, there's serious injuries, and then there's there's levels to this. In other words, there's levels to this, and you can only get so much in a settlement. So in having that connection, does that really factor into that too? And how much you can settle out? How does that really work?
Well, the way that the settlement is determined is first off, you look at the amount of medical care that the person got and what the diagnoses were. Because if you trip on the sidewalk and all you have is a cut on your toe or your ankle is sore for a day, obviously that's not going to be worth as much as if you're hit by a tractor trailer and you lose your leg. So it all starts with, what are the diagnoses, what actually happened to the person, and then what they look at, because there's really no other way to quantify the amount of treatment is what were the amount of the bills? What did the medical expenses cost? You know, if you only went to the emergency room and you have a $3,500 visit there, then they're going to say, okay, that's less serious. But if you went in and you had a CT scan and they thought that you had a brain hemorrhage and you were held for a couple of days and you walk out with a much larger bill that then ends up in a lot of treatment in the future, that bill is going to be a good measure of what kind of injuries that you had, what kind of treatment was required. And then once you get beyond the billing, the next big thing is, how does it affect you in the future? Obviously, if you completely recover, there's going to be less value to the case, and you're going to be happy about that because you don't want to be injured, obviously. But if you have a lingering permanent issue, that's where the higher values come in terms of verdicts and settlements.
Okay. So with this new law that Virginia just passed, and Virginia's not the only one. There's we're gonna see this being mirrored across the whole entire nation. So when accidents occur, it's particularly these traffic